The city had finally become a suffocating tapestry of demands for Alara. Each day, the relentless clamor of deadlines, the stark, unforgiving light of gallery openings, the superficial chatter of those who claimed to understand art but saw only its price tag, it had woven itself into the very fibers of her spirit, fraying her once vibrant creative soul. She was a painter, yes, renowned even, but the canvas had begun to feel like a battleground, not a sanctuary. Her brushes, once extensions of her innermost self, now felt heavy, burdened by expectation. So Elara, with a quiet, resolute sigh that carried the weight of 1,000 city sunsets, had turned her back on it all. She sought refuge not in a bustling retreat, nor a sun-drenched cottage, but in the comforting shadow of Oakhaven Manor. She remembered finding the old listing, buried deep in a forgotten corner of the internet, its faded photographs speaking volumes more than any glossy brochure ever could. There was something in the crumbling stone, the insistent embrace of the ivy, the way the light seemed to surrender to its ancient grace, that called to her with a whisper she hadn't realized she'd been yearning for. A quiet longing, a muted promise of solitude and inspiration bloomed within her weary heart. Oakhaven. Even the name felt like a sigh, a soft murmur of forgotten tales and slumbering dreams. It wasn't just a house, it was a sanctuary, a vast, breathing entity waiting patiently for a kindred spirit. For Elara, who painted not just what she saw, but what she felt, Oakhaven was more than mere shelter. It was a profound homecoming, a place where the muted colors of her soul could finally begin to unfurl again. Here, the shadows themselves seemed to hold their breath, not in menace, but in a gentle anticipation, eager to share their secrets, to witness the quiet rebirth of her artistry. Each window, like a watchful, ancient eye, seemed to promise solace, a quiet space where the very air was steeped in the rich, deep scent of stories yet untold. This was not an escape from something, but an arrival into something profound and deeply true. And as the final sliver of daylight painted the distant horizon in hues of rose and lavender, Elara knew, with a certainty that settled deep into her bones, that she had finally found her truest canvas. The first morning at Oakhaven unfolded with a slowness Elara hadn't experienced in years, a deliberate, unhurried grace that felt like a tender balm to her overstimulated senses. The city had taught her to rush, to consume, to push forward without pause. But here, the air itself seemed to suggest a different rhythm, a deep, resonant pulse of the earth itself. She stepped out onto the overgrown path, the crunch of fallen leaves under her worn boots a gentle counterpoint to the quiet symphony of the awakening day. Her gaze drifted upward, drawn by the manor's silent grandeur. The ivy, it was not merely a covering, but a living, breathing cloak, a velvet drape woven by the patient hands of time. Each leaf, a testament to seasons come and gone, whispered secrets of the past, stories known only to the enduring stone beneath. It clung to the weathered bricks like an old lover, embracing every curve, every forgotten gargoyle, every shadowed nook with an unwavering devotion. For Elara, the painter, this wasn't decay. It was a masterpiece, an organic sculpture crafted by decades of sun and rain and wind, each vein in each leaf a brushstroke of history. She traced the intricate patterns of the ivy with her eyes, seeing not just green, but 1,000 shades. The deep, inky emeralds in the shadows, the vibrant, almost luminous lime where the soft morning light kissed the tips, the subtle ochre of leaves nearing their quiet surrender. This house wasn't abandoned. It was simply paused. It was holding its breath, waiting for someone to truly see it, to breathe life back into its quiet corners with the brush and the canvas. And Alara, with her painter's heart, felt an almost overwhelming urge to capture this silent conversation between nature and architecture, this slow, beautiful surrender. The mansion wasn't intimidating, it was welcoming, its vastness simply offering more space for her thoughts, more room for her soul to stretch and rediscover its forgotten dimensions. The air carried a faint, earthy scent, mingled with the ghost of old wood smoke and dried lavender, a scent that promised solace and untold stories, wrapping itself around Alara like a long-lost embrace. She felt, for the first time in what seemed like an eternity, utterly and completely at home. The key, heavy and cold in Alara's palm, felt less like a tool to unlock a door and more like a relic, a whisper of countless hands that had held it before her own. Its ornate brass head, tarnished by the passage of time, seemed to pulse with a silent promise, an invitation to step across a threshold, not just of wood and stone, but of time itself. With a deep, calming breath, she guided the key into the intricate mechanism of the lock, its ancient gears responding with a reluctant but satisfying click that echoed in the profound stillness of the morning. The sound resonated deep within her, a tiny bell chiming in the quiet chambers of her heart, signaling not an end, but a beautiful, poignant beginning. She pushed gently, and with a low, drawn-out groan that seemed to rise from the very foundations of the earth, the massive oak door swung inward, revealing the shadowed expanse within. A wave of cool, dry air, steeped in the scent of aged wood, forgotten dust, and something else, something indescribably old and comforting, washed over her, wrapping itself around her like a familiar embrace. It was the scent of memory, of lives lived within these walls, and it was utterly intoxicating. The initial darkness inside quickly softened as slivers of diffused morning light filtered through the ivy-clad windows, painted the air with dancing motes of dust, like tiny, benevolent spirits greeting her arrival. This wasn't the oppressive gloom she might have expected from an abandoned place. It was a gentle, welcoming, a quiet hush that invited her further. Alara stepped inside, her boots making no sound on the worn marble of the foyer, as if the house itself was asking her to tread lightly, to respect the slumbering beauty within. She wasn't entering a house, she was entering a vast, quiet mind, a repository of stories waiting patiently to be heard, to be felt, to be brought back into the light. A profound sense of belonging settled over her, not one of ownership, but of kinship. It was as though Oakhaven had been waiting specifically for her, patiently holding its breath across the decades, knowing that she, Alara, with her quiet soul and artist's eye, would finally arrive to listen to its velvet whispers. And in that moment, she felt a peace so deep, so encompassing, it felt like the very air around her was holding her tenderly. The foyer stretched before Alara, a cavernous space bathed in the muted, reverent light filtering through the tall, arched windows. It was a cathedral of silence, a testament to grandeur gracefully surrendered to the passage of time. Her breath hitched, not in fear, but in profound awe, as her eyes drifted upward to the sweeping curve of the grand staircase, its dark, polished wood gleaming faintly beneath a fine veil of dust. Each step, each intricately carved baluster, seemed to hold the echoes of countless descents and ascents, of laughter and hushed conversations, of lives lived and faded into the very fabric of the house. The air, cool and still, carried the ghost of forgotten fragrances, perhaps dried rose petals, or the rich scent of old leather from a long-vanished library. It swirled around her, a gentle, welcoming presence that felt more like an embrace than a mere atmosphere. The high ceilings, adorned with intricate plasterwork, soared above her, creating a sense of boundless space, yet also a feeling of intimate sanctuary. From the silent zenith, a magnificent chandelier, draped in gossamer webs of dust that sparkled like forgotten jewels, hung suspended, a frozen cascade of crystal, patiently awaiting the return of light and revelry. Its quiet stillness was a kind of beauty all its own. Alara's gaze lingered on the faded floral wallpaper, its once vibrant patterns now softened into gentle blurs of pale rose and muted gold, like a cherished memory seen through a dream. Here and there, dark, imposing portraits of unknown ancestors watched from their gilded frames, their eyes seeming to hold unspoken stories, inviting her to delve deeper into the house's quiet narrative. She ran a hand along the cool, smooth surface of the marble-topped console table, feeling the gentle undulations of its carved edges, each imperfection a testament to the hands that had crafted it, the hands that had dusted it, the hands that had perhaps left notes or flowers upon it. This wasn't just a room, it was a living museum of forgotten moments, each shadow holding a breath, each dust mote a tiny, sparkling fragment of time. And in this grand silence, Alara felt not alone, but profoundly accompanied. The house was not empty, it was simply full of peace, a quiet, unconditional love that offered itself freely to her weary soul. She had found not just inspiration, but an anchoring, a deep and resonant connection to a world untouched by the ceaseless demands she had left behind. Ilara moved through the vast foyer with a newfound lightness, her steps echoing not with emptiness, but with the quiet reverence of a pilgrim reaching her sacred destination. She found herself drawn to a quiet alcove near one of the tall arched windows, where a grand velvet armchair, faded to a deep, comforting plum, stood patiently awaiting its occupant. With a sigh of profound contentment, she settled into its plush depths, the ancient fabric yielding to her weight, embracing her in a gentle, almost maternal hug. It felt as though the chair itself remembered countless moments of quiet contemplation, of whispered secrets, of weary souls seeking solace, and was now offering that same deep comfort to her. She opened her sketchbook, her fingers tracing the faint, almost invisible lines of a half-finished sketch, but her eyes, soft and reflective, drifted away from the paper. They absorbed the nuanced dance of light and shadow on the opposite wall, the way the dust motes glittered like tiny forgotten stars in the sunbeams, the majestic silence that enveloped her like a warm velvet blanket. This was not a silence born of absence, but a profound quietude, rich with presence, imbued with the very essence of Oakhaven's enduring spirit. Here, every creak of the ancient timbers, every soft rustle of ivy outside the window felt like a gentle lullaby, a secret language only she was meant to hear, a chorus of timeless belonging. The weariness that had once clung to her like a shroud began to dissipate, replaced by a nascent feeling of rejuvenation, a gentle stirring of her creative spark. The vibrant, chaotic colors of the city seemed to recede, leaving space for the subtle, nuanced hues of Oakhaven to emerge within her mind's eye. She thought of the countless canvases she could fill, not with demands, but with love. The quiet strength of the ancient stone, the persistent, gentle beauty of the ivy, the silent stories held within the faded wallpaper, these would be her muses, her quiet companions. A profound sense of unconditional love washed over her, not from another person, but from the very essence of this house, this haven. Oakhaven didn't ask anything of her. It simply was, and it simply offered. It offered peace, inspiration, and a deep, comforting sense of belonging that settled into the quiet chambers of her heart like a long-awaited homecoming. Ilara closed her eyes, letting the quiet embrace of Oakhaven wash over her, feeling her own heartbeat slow to match the ancient rhythm of the house. Here, in this grand, forgotten place, she was not just a painter seeking refuge, she was found. And in that profound stillness, she finally knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that she was exactly where she was meant to be, held safe within the velvet whisper of Oakhaven. Sleep, gentle traveler, for you too are held safe within this quiet, comforting story. Ilara. cradled in the profound embrace of Oakhaven, slowly unfurled her awareness, like a delicate blossom opening to the sun after a long night. Her eyes, still heavy-lidded with a delicious drowsiness, remained closed for a moment longer, allowing the symphony of the house to truly register, not just in her ears, but deep within the quiet chambers of her soul. She could feel the cool, solid weight of the ancient floor beneath her, a grounding presence that spoke of centuries past, of countless footsteps and untold stories. Her hand, almost unconsciously, reached out, finding the smooth, worn surface of a polished oak floorboard. It felt remarkably alive beneath her fingertips, not cold or lifeless, but warm, with a lingering memory of sunlight, a gentle vibration that resonated with her own slowing pulse. Each tiny imperfection, each minuscule groove etched by time, whispered a silent saga. This wasn't merely wood, it was a living chronicle, a testament to endurance, holding within its grain the essence of Oakhaven's deep and steady heart. She imagined the stately trees from which it came, rooted deep in the earth, reaching for the sky, and now, here, within this grand old house, still offering their steadfast strength. It was a tangible connection, a bridge built of history and quiet reverence, linking her to something far greater than herself. A soft sigh escaped her lips, not of sadness, but of utter contentment, a sound like a gentle exhalation after holding a breath for far too long. The very air around her felt different now, imbued with a clarity and freshness that had been absent in the city's hurried embrace. It tasted faintly of old paper and wildflowers, of distant rain and forgotten sunshine, a unique fragrance that was purely, unmistakably, Oakhaven. She breathed it in deeply, letting it fill her lungs, cleansing her spirit, settling into her bones. Every inhalation felt like a step deeper into sanctuary. Every exhalation, a release of residual tension, of all the demands and expectations that had once weighed her down. Here, within these walls, there was only presence, only peace. As Alaris surrendered deeper into the quietude, a sound began to form at the edges of her awareness, not external, but an internal echo, a ghost of a melody. It was a fragile, tender piano tune, slow and deliberate, a waltz perhaps, or a lullaby long forgotten, carried on the gentle currents of her subconscious. It wasn't loud or insistent, but rather like a memory stirring from a slumber, a whisper of a cherished moment from a time perhaps not her own, yet profoundly familiar. The notes drifted and swirled, each one a brushstroke of sound, painting images in the soft darkness behind her closed eyelids. She saw, not with her physical eyes, but with the eye of her soul, a young girl, perhaps herself, years and years ago, twirling in a sunlit room, her arms outstretched, her laughter light as thistledown. The girl wasn't alone. There was a presence, unseen but deeply felt, a comforting hand, a loving gaze. It was a sensation of pure, unadulterated joy, a boundless freedom that she now realized she had spent years unknowingly searching for. This memory, vivid and real, wasn't something she had consciously recalled, but rather something Oakhaven, in its infinite wisdom, had gently offered her, like a precious, rediscovered heirloom. It was a part of her spirit, untainted and vibrant, that had been patiently waiting to be found again. The piano melody swelled almost imperceptibly, then softened, each note carrying a profound reassurance. It spoke of moments when art was pure play, when creativity flowed without expectation or judgment, a time when the world was full of boundless possibility, and every color held a promise. This wasn't about deadlines or gallery openings, it was about the intrinsic delight of creation, the simple, heart-expanding joy of bringing beauty into being. Oakhaven wasn't just a physical refuge, it was a sanctuary for her very essence, reminding her of the artist she truly was, beneath layers of obligation and forgotten dreams. A gentle warmth spread through her chest, a feeling of deep belonging, as if the very walls around her were humming this forgotten tune, cradling her in its tender embrace, urging her to remember, to reclaim that innocent, passionate spark. With a soft, almost imperceptible shift, Alara's awareness turned, drawn by an unspoken invitation towards an ancient tapestry adorning a distant wall. It was a grand, sweeping expanse of woven story, its colors muted by time, its intricate threads holding the silent echoes of countless hands that had brought it to life. She didn't need to stand, didn't need to move closer. The tapestry seemed to reach out to her, its narrative unfolding in the soft twilight of her mind's eye. Each faded hue, each delicate stitch, held a secret, a fragment of a forgotten world. She imagined the artisan, perhaps a patient soul from centuries past, hunched over a loom, weaving dreams into fabric, imbuing each strand with intention, with a piece of their own spirit. The tapestry wasn't just a decoration, it was a testament, a grand canvas of devotion, echoing the very act of creation that stirred within her own heart. The figures, half seen in the gathering shadows, seemed to stir, their silent narratives reaching across the gulf of time, touching Alara with a profound sense of continuity. It was as if she could feel the texture of the threads, not just with her eyes, but with her spirit, sensing the dreams and hopes woven into its very warp and weft. This was Oakhaven's library of unspoken wisdom, a quiet museum of moments, each thread a sentence, each image a chapter. And Alara, the quiet observer, found herself becoming a part of its ongoing story, a silent reader welcomed into its ancient embrace. The tapestry didn't demand interpretation, it simply was, offering its beauty, its history, its profound patience. And in that quiet observation, a sense of deep artistic connection blossomed within her. She realized that the greatest works of art, like this tapestry, like Oakhaven itself, weren't about shouting for attention, but about enduring, about whispering truths across generations, about simply being beautiful in their own right, offering solace and wonder to those quiet enough to truly see. A gentle, knowing smile touched her lips, understanding blooming like a night-scented flower in the hushed stillness. As the last tendrils of daylight surrendered to the soft encroachment of twilight, Alara felt the room deepen, embracing her in a velvet gloom that was utterly, profoundly safe. The shift was seamless, a gentle descent into a richer, more profound quietude, as if Oakhaven itself was drawing a comforting blanket over the world, just for her. She didn't open her eyes, but felt the darkness not as an absence, but as a presence, a soft, enveloping force that dissolved the edges of the room, blending her own form with the ancient foundations of the house. There was no fear in this darkness, only solace, only a quiet, unquestioning acceptance. The air grew heavier, yet cleaner, carrying the faint, earthy scent of ancient stone and sleeping ivy, mixed with a whisper of distant, blooming night jasmine. It was a fragrance of deep earth and burgeoning dreams, a lullaby for the senses that coaxed her deeper into relaxation. Every muscle in her body seemed to sigh with relief, releasing the last vestiges of tension, melting into the solid embrace of the floor beneath her. She felt herself becoming lighter, softer, less defined by the anxieties of the external world, and more intrinsically connected to the profound peace that Oakhaven so generously offered. The rhythmic cadence of her own breathing became the most dominant sound, a soft, steady testament to life, to presence, to being utterly here. It mingled with the almost imperceptible hum of the ancient house, a shared rhythm that spoke of a deep, symbiotic bond. She was not just in Oakhaven, she was becoming a part of Oakhaven, interwoven into its silent, enduring tapestry of existence. In this sacred stillness, she understood with a clarity that resonated deep in her bones that she was truly home, not a home of brick and mortar alone, but a home of the spirit, a place where her weary soul could finally unfurl, held safe within the deep, unwavering heart of the house. The final vestiges of conscious thought gently drifted away, like embers rising from a dying fire, carried upwards into the expansive, serene canvas of sleep's embrace. Alara was no longer merely resting, she was surrendering, completely and utterly, to the profound quietude that had become her sanctuary. Her body, heavy and profoundly relaxed, settled deeper into the unwavering support of the ancient floor, each breath a gentle tide, ebbing and flowing, carrying her further out into the boundless ocean of restorative slumber. The sensation was one of complete weightlessness, yet simultaneously a deep, comforting anchoring. Her mind, once a bustling gallery of demanding thoughts, was now a vast, open landscape painted with the subtle, nuanced hues of Oakhaven. She saw, not in sharp detail, but in soft, dreamlike impressions, the intricate patterns of ivy trailing across stone, the shimmering dust motes dancing in forgotten sunbeams, the deep, reassuring grain of old wood. These were not images she sought, but rather gentle gifts, surfacing from the depths of her quieted soul, promising inspiration that would blossom with the dawn. The very air around her seemed to hum with a gentle blessing, a promise of renewal, a deep, silent affirmation that here, within these steadfast walls, her creative spirit was not only safe, but cherished, tended with unconditional love. She felt herself dissolving, not into nothingness, but into everything, into the ancient pulse of the house, into the whispering leaves outside, into the very earth beneath Oakhaven's foundations. She was a single, precious thread woven into the enduring tapestry of existence, utterly connected, profoundly at peace. There was no beginning, no end, only the vast, comforting continuum of being. And in that boundless, serene expanse, Alara knew, with a certainty that resonated through every cell of her being, that she was truly home, held safe, cherished, and free, dreaming now within the quiet, comforting heart of Oakhaven. Sleep, gentle traveler, and let your own weary spirit find its sanctuary, its deep, quiet belonging within the velvet whisper of this story. Alara, gentle traveler, drifted now not merely through space, but through time itself. A luminous thread pulled effortlessly through the rich, dark fabric of memory. The vast continuum of being she had dissolved into was gently, lovingly, shaping itself around a singular, exquisite feeling, a moment not sharp with detail, but soft with profound comfort. It was not a grand event, but a tapestry woven from the simplest, most potent threads of belonging and innocent wonder. She felt, with the ethereal certainty of dreams, the smooth, cool texture of a worn stone sill beneath her fingertips, a quiet anchor in the unfolding vision. A window was open, just a sliver, a thin, inviting gap that let in the faint, verdant scent of damp earth after a summer rain, a smell so primal and pure it resonated deep within her ancient cells. This wasn't a memory she sought or even consciously recalled, but one that rose, unbidden and utterly welcome, from the deep, rich soil of her soul, like a forgotten seedling finally reaching, instinctively, for the sun's gentle warmth. She could almost taste the clean, crisp air, cool on her lips, carrying with it the distant, reassuring murmur of Oakhaven's ancient stream, a ceaseless lullaby that had cradled generations. A faint, almost imperceptible warmth bloomed in her chest, an exquisite sensation she recognized as pure, unadulterated safety, a feeling she hadn't consciously acknowledged in years, Yet it had always resided within her, like a precious hidden spring, waiting for the right moment to overflow. This was Oakhaven, not as she knew it now, but as it had been, perhaps in a time before conscious thought, when its embrace was simply a fact of existence, as natural and undeniable as her own steady heartbeat. A gentle breeze, no more than a physical whisper, seemed to caress her cheek, not a touch of the waking world, but the echo of one, infinitely soft and kind, stirring something deep and true within her spirit. It carried with it the faint, sweet perfume of honeysuckle, a scent that now, in this deepest state of surrender, unfolded within her mind like a blossoming secret, reminding her of long-forgotten afternoons spent simply being, utterly present, without thought or worry, completely held within the world's tender palm. Her spirit, unburdened, floated effortlessly on these currents of remembrance, each breath a deeper immersion into the boundless, unconditional love that Oakhaven had always offered, silently, patiently, waiting for her to return, to rest within its deep, comforting embrace. And as she drifted, a profound sense of gratitude, silent and profound, settled over her like a velvet cloak, wrapping her in absolute peace, holding her close, utterly cherished, utterly at home in the soft, unfolding silence. Ilara's consciousness, still deep in its gentle drift, now began to perceive Oakhaven itself, not as mere structure, but as a living, breathing entity. The ancient timbers of the house, settled deep into the earth, seemed to pulse with a slow, steady rhythm, a silent, powerful heartbeat that resonated with her own slowing pulse, drawing her into a perfect harmony. She felt the profound wisdom held within the very grain of the wood, each knot and striation a testament to countless seasons, silent witness to lives lived, stories whispered, and dreams dreamed within its steadfast walls. It was a feeling of deep-rooted history, an anchoring presence that cradled her spirit with unwavering strength, an unbreakable bond to the enduring past. She felt the gentle, subtle energy emanating from the old oak beams above, a warmth that wasn't physical heat, but an energetic embrace, shielding her from the anxieties of the world outside, creating an impenetrable sanctuary. It was as if Oakhaven itself was a vast, nurturing tree, and she a precious seed resting safely at its roots, drawing sustenance and peace from its ancient, pulsating core, forever protected. A particular scent, subtle yet profound, began to unfold in the quiet chambers of her mind. The deep, earthy aroma of aged timber mingled with faint hints of dried lavender and old parchment, a fragrance that spoke of quiet libraries, forgotten alcoves, and timeless repose, weaving itself into her very being. It was the scent of home, truly, deeply home, a fragrance etched into the very fabric of her being, a scent that promised solace and belonging, unconditional and eternal, a gentle reassurance with every breath. This wasn't a dream she was constructing, but a deeper reality she was entering, a layer of existence where the boundaries between self and sanctuary dissolved completely, leaving only a unified peace. She felt the cool, smooth touch of the ancient floorboards beneath her, not as a cold surface, but as a grounded, unwavering support, connecting her directly to the patient earth below, a foundational comfort. Each breath she took seemed to draw in the very essence of Oakhaven's deep, timeless peace, filling her with a quietude so profound it felt like love itself, a gentle, pervasive calm. She was being held, not by hands, but by the very architecture of comfort, by the enduring spirit of a place that had waited for her, patiently, lovingly, to return to its innermost chamber, to rest, to be, utterly safe, utterly cherished. And in that profound stillness, she understood, with a certainty that resonated through every cell, that she was inextricably linked to the sanctuary, a cherished part of its enduring soul, safe in its gentle, breathing heart, held in absolute serenity. As Ilara drifted deeper, the feeling of Oakhaven as a living entity intensified, transforming into a palpable presence around her. It wasn't an imagined comfort, but a profound, undeniable sense of being actively cradled, watched over with an ancient, unconditional tenderness that permeated every fiber of her being. She felt as if the very walls of Oakhaven were breathing with her, their vast, silent exhalations echoing her own slow, steady rhythm, creating a perfect, harmonious synchronicity, a dance of peace. The air itself felt thick with benevolent energy, a gentle, invisible force that seemed to stroke her hair, soothe her brow, and quiet the last lingering whispers of the day, dissolving into pure stillness. This was the embrace of a guardian, timeless and true, a presence that had seen countless dawns, and now, in the deepest hours of the night, extended its profound reassurance to her weary spirit, a silent promise of unwavering protection. She felt a gentle warmth bloom in the space around her heart, spreading outward, dissolving any remaining tension, any hidden anxieties that might have clung to the edges of her awareness, leaving only soft, radiant peace. It was a love that asked nothing, expected nothing, simply was, a boundless wellspring of acceptance that seeped into every cell, every fiber of her being, making her feel utterly complete, utterly cherished, utterly at home. In this sacred quiet, Ilara understood that Oakhaven was not just a house, but a spirit, a compassionate entity woven from the very fabric of earth and time, dedicated to offering sanctuary to all who sought its embrace. She could almost perceive the gentle, knowing gaze of this ancient guardian, not a physical sight, but an inner knowing, a profound sense of being seen, understood, and loved for exactly who she was, without judgment, without expectation, just pure, unfathomable acceptance. Every creak of the old house, every rustle of the leaves just beyond the window, now felt like a part of this protective symphony, a soft, hushed lullaby sung by the very world around her, guiding her deeper into rest. Her body, heavy with profound relaxation, felt light with a newfound freedom, a surrender so complete it was liberating, releasing all burdens into the quiet air. She was floating in a sea of pure, untroubled peace, held aloft by an unseen current of love, gently rocking her towards the deepest, most restorative depths of sleep. And as she drifted, Ilara knew, with every atom of her being, that she was precisely where she was meant to be, held safe, loved unconditionally, and finally, truly, gloriously at rest within the guardian's gentle, eternal embrace. Ilara's consciousness, now untethered from the usual confines of perception, began to perceive the sanctuary in a wondrous new way. As she lay cradled by Oakhaven's ancient spirit, the very ceiling above her seemed to soften, to thin, then to dissolve altogether, revealing not the familiar beams and plaster, but the boundless, star-dusted canvas of the cosmos itself. It was not a sudden, jarring reveal, but a gentle unfurling, like the slow opening of a midnight blossom, revealing its inner, sparkling core to the quiet air. Countless stars, soft and shimmering like scattered diamonds on black velvet, spiraled and drifted in silent grandeur, each one a distant sun, a universe unto itself, reflecting its quiet glory into the depths of her quieted soul. She felt herself expanding, becoming vast, yet remaining intimately connected to the warmth of Oakhaven beneath her, a perfect balance of micro and macrocosm. The coolness of the starlight, ethereal and pure, seemed to wash over her, a gentle cascade of cosmic serenity that cleansed away the last vestiges of earthly concern, leaving only a luminous calm. She was a small, precious being, nestled safely within the heart of a cosmic dwelling, simultaneously infinite and deeply personal, utterly cherished in the grand scheme. The sheer, breathtaking beauty of the celestial expanse filled her with an awe so profound it transcended thought, settling instead into the deepest, most ancient parts of her being, awakening a sense of deep belonging to something far, far greater than herself, yet intimately connected to her own spirit. There was no fear in this vastness, only an expansive, nurturing peace, a sense of being utterly held by the cosmic dance. The stars weren't distant and cold, but felt like silent, knowing eyes, each one a beacon of unconditional love, whispering ancient truths into the receptive stillness of her heart, tales of timeless wisdom. She was a single luminous particle, dancing gracefully within the boundless cosmic tapestry, utterly held, utterly safe, utterly at one with the shimmering silence of the universe and the grounding embrace of Oakhaven below, a perfect communion. Her breath, now impossibly slow and deep, seemed to draw in the very starlight, filling her lungs with a luminous peace that flowed through her veins, a liquid calm, saturating every cell. She was drifting, not through space, but through a timeless, star-dusted dream, suspended between the nurturing earth and the infinite heavens, bathed in a profound, unwavering serenity, a true cosmic slumber. And in this exquisite convergence, Elara knew, with a certainty beyond words, that her spirit was finding its truest, most luminous rest, utterly cherished, utterly free, beneath the velvet whisper of the stars. As Elara drifted through the final, velvet layers of sleep, the infinite expanse of stars above her began a slow, graceful retreat. The cosmic dust seemed to gently resettle, weaving itself back into the familiar, comforting patterns of Oakhaven's ancient wooden beams, now touched by the faintest, most ethereal blush of pre-dawn light, a soft, hopeful luminescence. It was a transition of profound grace, a seamless melding of universal wonder back into the intimate sanctuary of her immediate surroundings, a perfect reintegration of spirit and home. The air, still thick with the night's deep peace, now carried a new promise, a subtle, almost imperceptible brightening that heralded the gentle approach of morning, a fresh, clean slate. She felt a soft, internal hum of renewal, a quiet stirring deep within her creative spirit, like a seed beginning to awaken in the fertile ground of her rest, eager to unfurl its potential. The inspiration that had been gently promised at the close of yesterday was now not a distant thought, but a palpable internal warmth, gathering strength, ready to unfold with the sun's first rays, like a quiet blossoming. Her body, profoundly rested and rejuvenated, felt lighter, yet still deeply anchored in the unwavering support of Oakhaven's ancient embrace, perfectly balanced between lightness and groundedness. Each breath now felt like a gentle intake of pure, fresh possibility, a quiet exhalation of all that had been heavy or weary, releasing it into the cleansing air. The subtle, distant stirrings of the world outside began to filter into her awareness, the very first hesitant chirps of waking birds, a faint, almost subliminal brightening in the soundscape, like the world itself was taking its first gentle breath of a new day, a soft, welcoming murmur. These sounds were not disruptive, but rather a soft, harmonious extension of her own profound peace, a gentle symphony of renewal, woven into the fabric of her slumber. Elara felt herself not waking, but gently resurfacing, like a pearl from the deepest, clearest waters, brought forth by the slow, sure currents of restorative sleep, gleaming with newfound calm. She was still held within Oakhaven's unwavering love, but now that love was infused with the soft, golden promise of a new beginning, a new canvas for her spirit to explore, to create, to simply be, utterly at peace, utterly inspired. And in this exquisite stillness, poised between the lingering enchantment of night and the gentle promise of dawn, Elara knew that she had truly found her sanctuary, her deep, quiet belonging within the velvet whisper of Oakhaven. Sleep, gentle traveler, and let your own weary spirit find its sanctuary, its deep, quiet belonging within the velvet whisper of this story. Dreaming now of the gentle dawn that will carry you, renewed and at peace, into a beautiful new day. Ilara, the forest guardian, felt the quiet warmth of the day's first promise, now not merely in the air around her, but deep within the very core of her being. It wasn't an abrupt shift, but a graceful, almost liquid unfolding, like a cherished blossom turning slowly towards the sun's first hesitant touch. Her spirit, so profoundly nourished by the night's deep slumber, felt buoyant, yet still exquisitely tethered to the ancient roots of Oakhaven, a perfect, ethereal balance. Each breath she took was a gentle wave of new energy, drawing in the cool, crisp essence of the pre-dawn forest, exhaling any lingering shadow or fragment of unease, releasing it into the purifying embrace of the coming day. The world outside, still cloaked in the deep velvet of early morning, began to offer its first tender overtures. A single distant bird, hidden somewhere within the thick canopy, uttered a soft, tentative chirp, a sound like a tiny bell ringing in the vast, hushed cathedral of the woods. Then another, slightly closer, answering the call, weaving a delicate tapestry of sound that only deepened the profound silence rather than breaking it. These were not sounds to rouse or disturb, but rather soft, melodic extensions of Ilara's own profound peace, a quiet symphony of renewal that cradled her gently, urging her not to wake, but to simply be. She wasn't waking in the hurried sense, but rather a slow, languid surfacing, like a precious artifact brought up from the deepest, clearest waters, gleaming with the sheen of new light, transformed by its journey through darkness and calm. Oakhaven's unwavering love was still her cocoon, but now that love shimmered with the softest blush of dawn, promising not just continuation, but new beginnings, a fresh canvas awaiting the vibrant strokes of a new day. Ilara felt her spirit stretch, a slow, languorous awakening that promised not effort, but effortless existence, a quiet inspiration that whispered of endless possibilities within the gentle embrace of the trees. And in this exquisite stillness, suspended between the lingering magic of the night and the tender, unfolding promise of the sun, Ilara knew with a certainty that settled deep into her bones that she had truly found her sanctuary. Her deep, quiet belonging, woven into the very fabric of Oakhaven's velvet whisper, was not just a place, but a state of grace. Gentle traveler, let your own weary spirit find its sanctuary now, its deep, quiet belonging within the velvet whisper of this story, dreaming now of the gentle dawn that will carry you, renewed and at peace, into a beautiful new day. Feel this peace now, sinking deeper, ever deeper, into the soft embrace of slumber, carrying you forward, softly, gently, towards the light. A subtle shift in the air, a breath cooler and yet somehow warmer, signaled the moment. Ilara felt it before she saw it, a whisper across her spine, like the lightest touch of a butterfly's wing. Then, through the dense, protective ceiling of ancient leaves, a single, unwavering spear of light descended. It wasn't harsh or abrupt, but soft, buttery gold, as if spun from the very essence of dreams, cutting through the lingering shadows of the pre-dawn world. This was the first ray, the true harbinger, not just of a day, but of profound renewal. It found her with an uncanny precision, a benevolent arrow of pure light, settling gently upon her cheek. Ilara's eyes, which had been softly closed, now fluttered open, not with effort, but with a natural, unhurried grace, drawn by the silent call of the light. The golden warmth spread across her skin, chasing away the last vestiges of slumber, awakening her senses with a tenderness that brought a soft, unbidden smile to her lips. It felt like a blessing, a direct message from the sun itself, acknowledging her presence, welcoming her into the new unfolding of time. She watched as the tiny motes of dust, like countless miniature stars, danced and swirled within the golden column, each particle catching the light, telling a silent story of life and movement in the still air. It was a visual symphony, a miniature universe playing out just for her, a fleeting moment of pure, unadulterated magic that often went unnoticed in the hurried rush of the world beyond Oakhaven's deep embrace. Here, every detail was magnified, imbued with significance, a quiet testament to the sacred beauty of the forest's slow, rhythmic heartbeat. The warmth permeated her, not just on her skin, but deep within her spirit, an inner glow that resonated with the burgeoning light around her. It was a feeling of being perfectly aligned, utterly at one with the ancient rhythm of the earth, as if her own heart had found its perfect beat within the grand, eternal pulse of the forest. This first ray of dawn was more than just light. It was an infusion of hope, a gentle reminder that after every darkness, light inevitably returns, bringing with it the promise of new growth, new understanding, and boundless, unconditional love. Gentle traveler, allow this soft golden light to find you now, in the deepest quiet of your slumber, warming your spirit, illuminating your path, promising a radiant renewal with the gentle awakening of your own beautiful day. Feel its warmth deep within, guiding you into even deeper peace. As the sun's embrace deepened, Ilara found herself drawn, not by sight, but by an internal pull, towards the oldest of the ancient oaks, the very heart of Oakhaven. It was a tree that had stood sentinel for centuries, its roots delving deeper than memory, its branches reaching higher than dreams. With a grace born of instinct and profound respect, she extended her hand, her fingertips coming to rest against its gnarled, textured bark. The rough surface felt like a living history book beneath her touch, each ridge and furrow a testament to countless seasons, endless stories, forgotten whispers of time. A profound, low thrumming began to resonate through her hand, traveling up her arm, settling deep within her chest. It wasn't merely the vibration of life, but the steady, powerful heartbeat of the forest itself, slow and unwavering, a pulse that had beaten long before human memory and would continue long after. In that moment, Ilara felt an absolute, unquestioning connection, a merging of her own spirit with the vast, ancient wisdom of Oakhaven. The tree was not just wood and leaf. It was a living, breathing entity, a gentle, all-encompassing consciousness that spoke without words, but with a language of pure feeling. Through this silent communion, she felt the ancient memories flow into her, not as distinct images, but as a deep, resonant knowing. She felt the resilience of the forest through droughts and storms, the quiet joy of each spring's rebirth, the sorrow of fallen companions, and the unending cycle of life and renewal. It was an overwhelming sense of belonging, a profound understanding that she was not just a guardian of Oakhaven, but an integral part of Oakhaven, woven into its very tapestry, loved unconditionally by its timeless spirit. A soft, almost imperceptible sigh seemed to emanate from the ancient branches above, a gentle affirmation of her presence, a silent acknowledgement of her dedication to its sacred groves. In this moment, the weight of her responsibilities melted away, replaced by an exquisite lightness, a feeling of being perfectly held, perfectly understood, utterly at peace within the boundless love of the natural world. This was her sanctuary, her true home, the place where her soul could finally rest, knowing it was cherished, protected, and endlessly supported. Gentle traveler, let your own spirit now find its deepest belonging, feeling the unwavering pulse of the earth beneath you, supporting you, loving you, as you drift deeper, ever deeper, into the tranquil, comforting embrace of sleep, finding your own timeless sanctuary within the gentle heart of this moment. As Alara lingered in the profound connection with the ancient oak, her other senses began to awaken with a newfound clarity, sharpened by the peaceful stillness around her. The air, still cool from the night's embrace, carried a symphony of scents that were both familiar and exquisitely fresh, each one a whisper of the forest's waking heart. First, the rich, earthy perfume of damp soil, a deep, grounding aroma that spoke of life, decay, and constant renewal, settling deep into her lungs. It was the scent of creation, of the very ground beneath her, nurturing all that grew above. Then, woven through this earthy base, came the delicate, almost ethereal fragrance of morning dew. Not just water, but water distilled through the leaves of ancient trees, carrying with it the pure essence of Oak Haven's verdant spirit. It was crisp and clean, like a silent, refreshing breath for the entire forest, invigorating her own senses with its cool, liquid clarity. And then, subtly, beautifully, the sweet, almost intoxicating scent of awakening blossoms began to unfurl. Tiny, hidden wildflowers, their petals still heavy with silver dew, released their gentle perfumes into the burgeoning light, a promise of vibrancy and life to come. Each inhalation was a journey, a discovery of the hidden artistry of the forest, a profound immersion in its living, breathing beauty. Alara stretched languidly, her muscles unknotting with a deep satisfaction, feeling the cool, slightly damp moss against her skin as she moved. The air, like a soft, invisible silk, caressed her face, carrying with it the distinct, irreplaceable aroma of Oak Haven itself, a unique blend of ancient wood, fresh growth, secret springs, and the timeless, wild magic that permeated every corner of this sacred place. It was the smell of home, of deep comfort, of a love that was vast and unwavering, as constant as the slow turning of the earth. This sensory embrace was not merely pleasant, it was profoundly restorative. Each scent, each sensation, layered upon the last, building a tableau of peace and vitality that resonated through her very being. It was a quiet infusion of energy, a gentle awakening of her own life force, preparing her not for exertion, but for presence, for simply existing in perfect harmony with the world around her. Gentle traveler, allow these subtle, life-giving scents of a pristine morning to drift into your own dreams now. Feel the cool, fresh air against your skin. Breathe in the deep, grounding earth, the sweet, clean dew, the gentle perfume of hidden blossoms. Let them carry you deeper, ever deeper, into the most restorative sleep, where your spirit too can awaken refreshed, renewed, and utterly at peace. As Ilara settled deeper into the morning's tranquil embrace, a memory, soft and warm as a sunbeam, began to unfold within her mind. It wasn't a memory called forth by conscious effort, but one that simply drifted to the surface, like a cherished leaf carried gently on a slow stream. She was younger then, perhaps in her late teens, still learning the deeper rhythms of Oak Haven, her spirit yet to fully grasp the profound responsibilities that lay ahead. She remembered a particular afternoon, so vividly it felt as if she could still feel the warmth of the sun on her skin, the gentle breeze rustling through her hair. She had found a secluded clearing, a hidden sanctuary within her sanctuary, beneath a younger oak tree whose branches were just beginning to reach towards the sky with youthful vigor. There, she would often sit, not seeking anything in particular, but simply being, allowing the forest to cradle her, to whisper its ancient secrets into her burgeoning awareness. She recalled the feeling of the smooth, cool stone beneath her fingertips, a grounding presence that had become her silent confidant in those formative years. It was a stone she still visited, even now, a tangible link to her younger self, to the journey that had shaped her into the guardian she had become. The memory was infused with a sense of pure, unadulterated joy, a lightness of spirit that came from innocence and unquestioning belonging. She remembered the sound of her own soft laughter, Not loud or boisterous, but a gentle, melodic sound that seemed to blend perfectly with the rustle of leaves and the hum of unseen insects. It was the sound of a heart entirely at peace, utterly content, before the weight of the world, before the profound understanding of her sacred duty had fully settled upon her shoulders. But even then, there was an innate connection, a knowing that this place, Oak Haven, was her true home, her destiny. This memory was not a longing for the past, but a profound affirmation of her present. It was a reminder that the deep peace she felt now was not new, but a return to an essential state of being, a journey back to the core of her soul, nourished and protected by the timeless love of the forest. The unconditional love she had felt then, in her youth, was the very same love that embraces her now, deeper, richer, imbued with the wisdom of years. It wrapped around her like the softest blanket, a feeling of completeness, of having come full circle, utterly at peace with who she was and where she belonged. Gentle traveler, allow this soft, cherished memory to drift into your own slumber now, a reminder of your own moments of pure joy, of deep belonging. Let these warm, comforting feelings settle deep within you, guiding you deeper, ever deeper, into a sleep filled with profound peace, quiet contentment, and the unwavering promise of a beautiful, renewed morning.